Let's continue talking about the amnesty plan with the senator from Wisconsin, the Republican who's a member of the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations and the presumptive chairman next session of the Homeland Security and Government Affairs and Oversight Committee, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin. Ron, thanks for phoning in. You just heard the president there blaming the Republicans, saying he had no choice but to go it alone. Do you buy that?
Good morning, JD. I tell you what, I listened to the speech. I've been reading it this morning, kind of going over it. And I have to say, President Obama makes Bill Clinton, a.k.a. Slick Willie, look like an amateur. I mean, in May of 2008, as a candidate, President Obama promised, he said, this is an exact quote, "What I can guarantee is that we will have in the first year an immigration bill that I strongly support." Now, you know that President Obama had total control of government in the first 2 years in office. He had a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, which is how he passed a $800 billion failed stimulus, Dodd-Frank, Obamacare. He promised he'd have an immigration bill. If he was serious about fixing this problem, he would have done it in the first year. He's not serious about fixing the problem. What he's serious about is using immigration cynically for political gain. He's using it as a political weapon. If he was really serious about passing the bill, which is what he was taunting us to do, he would have worked with us and to find agreement to start doing this in a common sense approach. JD, I've been in business a long time. I did a lot of negotiating. The way you start a negotiation is you figure out all the things you agree on. It builds a relationship, a level of trust, so it's a lot easier finding common ground on the areas of disagreement. Last night, the first thing he talked about, more resource to the border, speed, return criminals first. We agree on that. Let's do that. High-skilled laborers, there's a great deal of agreement on that. Let's keep the brightest minds in the world here in America to help our economy, where we start running into areas of disagreement, not total disagreement, really is in terms of what we should do with the people that are already here, and the timing of how we should do it. So that we don't agree on that yet. Let's do the first things that we agree on first and worry about the areas of disagreement as the second step in the process. But he's not giving us that opportunity. He's poking a stick in our eye. He's making it far more difficult to pass a bill, and he knows that, which is why he's starting the relationship with the new Congress by picking a fight rather than trying to find common ground.
And mindful of that, and we've got a little more than a minute and a half in this segment, Ron. Obviously, you graciously assented to stay with us following the break, but I'm interested, since you're going to be taking over the Senate Homeland Security Committee, what the immediate result is going to be. Do you expect now people to come flooding across the border? Because in the past, when any mention of amnesty has taken place, people say, I'm going north. Do you expect that?
Well, I'm concerned about it. That's why you have to secure the border first before you do these other things. Look at deferred action on childhood admissions. It's probably the best example that we can use as a predictor of what might happen. President Obama, his memorandum on deferred action on childhood admissions did not apply to anybody coming into the country currently, but it did apply. So we can't trust President Obama to even enforce the letter of his own memorandums, much less the letter of the law that's been passed previously. So, and the fact of the matter is, when he issued that memorandum on deferred action on childhood admissions, that's when parents in Central America looked at that and said, hey, if I get my kids into America, they're home free, and by and large, JD, they have been home free. So it will create the incentive, and that's the number one goal of our policies. Let's reduce the flow. Let's reduce the incentives for illegal immigration. President Obama's unilateral action is just going to increase that. It's going to exacerbate the problem.
Senator Ron Johnson is our guest, and obviously the questions we will get to when we come back from the break, Ron, include the collective Republican reaction to what the president said last night and the action that you may take as a member of the United States Senate and your colleagues in the House may take. What will the Republicans do in response? That question, the first thing we'll ask Ron Johnson when we continue.